Hello, hello. Welcome to Waifus of Overwatch and happy Valentine's Day for everybody out there. We are here to celebrate our waifus and husbandos of Overwatch. Woohoo! Woo! My name is Erin Fitzgerald and I get to do this amazing podcast with my BFF.
Danielle McCrae. How you guys doing? And it's lovely Valentine's Day.
Woo!
So awkward.
It is. And we love you guys so much that we have secured an amazing interview for you today. We are here with Anjali Bhimani, who plays Symmetra.
Woo! Guys, how are ya?
Oh, we love it. We're so excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for making time out of your crazy busy schedule.
No problem at all. This is awesome. I just love the fact, as soon as I heard the name of your show, I had how could I not want to jump in on something like that?
I love that because the whole point is we're more obsessed with the characters than even the game because Blizzard did such a great job creating these characters. And as far as video games go, even theater or on stage, just these female characters are some of the best well-crafted female, diverse, international female characters that I've ever seen anywhere at any given time. So we're very
You're here. I feel the same way. I mean, it sounds weird to say it about something that I'm working on, but I fell in love with them. I'm like, I'm in love with every single one of them and all the stories behind them. So I'm glad that other people are enjoying it too.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, right? It's pretty cool. But before we dive into all of our Overwatch obsession, and trust me, Anjali, this is an obsession, and we may get a little bit too cuckoo. But that just yeah. We're preparing for it. We're just preparing for it. I know that you have an amazing background of training behind you as an actor. Would you mind talking about that a little bit for all of the people who are interested in getting into acting? And the new generation refers to this as voice acting, but you are a great example that acting is just acting no matter what you're working behind.
Sure. Well, the way I like to describe it, working across different media is it's really like speaking Spanish and French or Spanish and Italian or, a related language, because once you start in one language, whatever your first language is, whether it's theater or film or television or voice acting, you learn through that medium how to transfer parts of it to the next medium. So because I learned Spanish first, French was easy. Same thing, wherever you start, that's your in, but that's not necessarily the only language you end up speaking, because ideally as an actor, you want to be available to do anything that they pay you to do that's legal.
Yes.
So yes. That's kind of how I decided. I'm like, okay, if I really want to make a living doing this and be satisfied, I need to be able to do as many things as physically possible. So
and you have. Your resume is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I've really lucked out. I've had a lot of great opportunities to work with amazing people and on amazing projects. And while I know, they always say luck is opportunity meets preparation, there is definitely an element of genuine luck that I've fallen into as well. But short version, I went to college for theater. I started doing theater when I was like a kid doing community theater and theater in school, and then I realized, you can actually do this for a living. I didn't know people were allowed to do that. Like normal people weren't allowed to do that, especially back when I was a kid. I as an Indian kid growing up in America, it didn't seem like there were as many opportunities. But once I realized it didn't matter, that's when I was like, great, my parents are both doctors. Why shouldn't I be an actor?
Because your parents are both doctors and don't want you to be an actor?
No. I have to say, my parents met acting. My parents are both doctors, but they met acting in medical school. My dad was an actor in this intercollegiate drama troupe in medical school, and I love telling this story. And his director was getting really frustrated because they couldn't find someone to play opposite him. So my dad said, the next woman that walks down those stairs, we'll ask her to do it, and that'll be the girl. And it was my mom.
No.
Yeah. So that's how my parents met. So there's always been this kind of subconscious sanction I have felt, knowing that my father
created you because of that. You are a manifestation of their acting. Like when they fell in love acting. So when they created something from that love, it was an actress. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
So but actually, also their doctor training has paid off. Needless to say, their medical training has paid off because I'm Indian, so I've played a lot of doctors.
Word.
But anyway, so I went to school for theater at Northwestern, and then I did a lot of theater in Chicago for a while, and then I moved to New York with a show that moved to Broadway called Metamorphoses, and stayed there with that show. Did a bunch of other off-Broadway shows, did an opera, did a few other things, did another Broadway show, and I also over there started doing television. So
in New York, so you were on Broadway and doing television.
Yes, which
wow.
In New York, there's you have that freedom, you have that opportunity.
Yeah. But you were before you jump into the television, you were in an Andrew Lloyd Webber show on Broadway. Is that correct?
Correct. It was called Bombay Dreams. They had done it in London.
That is
earlier,
kind of like a ridiculously huge deal. Like that was like, I remember when I was a kid, the first show I saw was Cats, and that blew my mind, and it pushed me to go into theater. And here you are getting to be in an Andrew Lloyd. I mean, let's talk about that just a little bit before you jump into the TV stuff you've done, because
no problem. I mean, it sure didn't suck. I will tell you, it was super fun because at that time, Indian culture wasn't very well known, particularly Indian entertainment here in the United States. Now it's over 10 years later now, and everybody's a lot more familiar.
But we can
with
get
Indian
better.
Culture. Oh yeah, no, everybody's. We're all learning more about other cultures
Isn't
these
that
days.
great?
Now,
I love that.
Thanks to the advent of the internet and the world essentially being flat now, because like the same way that Thomas Friedman book. Where he said, the world is flat.
Right.
It's basically because of the internet, we can connect with people all over the world. And it's super easy to connect with people far, far away. So people are understanding more about other cultures through games and entertainment and news, and it's just easier to get that connection.
Yeah.
But I digress. So yeah, it was kind of the first big Indian show that had been produced on that scale. And like I said, it had been in London, and this was the American production. And I joined up in the beginning of the American production, and then I moved up to play the role of Rani, who was the big Bollywood diva.
So cool. Wow.
Yeah, it was ridiculously magical and such a wonderful time. And I'm still friends with people in that cast. And yeah, you can't really, I mean, you really can't get any better than making your first entrance in a show as you are brought down from the rafters on a giant moon while you're singing.
No, you really, everything just kind of pales after that.
Like, it's all downhill from here. Why do I bother?
Yeah. I'm just showing up and having fun now.
Yeah, exactly.
Bucket list, check.
It was a beautiful experience, and it was a great time it was a great experience bringing Bollywood to America, because it wasn't necessarily a deep penetrating story. It was sort of like 42nd Street in Bombay, but the lushness of the production and the dancing and the colors and everything, it was just this wild, raucous, wonderful party. And
you are seriously a part of theater history, being able to do that. That's just such a big deal.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really lucky that the shows that I've done, particularly the two shows I did on Broadway, were life-changing. The first show I did, Metamorphoses, I still run into people here in Los Angeles who recognize me from that, which blows my mind because it's theater.
Wow.
Nice.
But it was such a beautiful production, and we did so many productions of it before and after. And it happened. We went into tech rehearsals 2 days after 9/11. So it was a time when New Yorkers really needed a balm for their hearts and their souls, and the show was all about the changing power of love. How we all metamorphosize one way or another through love, whether it's positive or negative.
We could use that show now. I'm just Valentine's Day, and in this we need more shows about love now.
It was a really I can't speak enough about that director, about everybody who was involved in it. It's a show that made my life better. So yeah, and that's how I ended up in New York, so I can't complain about that either.
I have another theater-related question before we move on to your amazing television film career. I read we worked with Maurice Sendak, like the Maurice Sendak, like is that?
Maurice, oh my God, he was the best.
That's my childhood,
right?
So
oh my gosh!
Please talk about that.
Yes,
please.
Maurice had done a children's book version of something called Brundabar. And Brundabar was a story that was originally an opera that someone had written during the Holocaust. And when he and his family were being taken, I hope I'm getting the history correct on this, so please, I hope
Internet, you can correct in the comments if you need to. And also Maurice Sendak is the author of Where the Wild Things Are, in case you weren't aware. Please continue.
Right. Right. And so anyway, he did this adaptation of this opera that had actually been performed in the concentration camp, in one of the concentration camps during the Holocaust. And it was all about children rising against a tyrant. And so the children in the concentration camp performed this opera. So Tony Kushner, who wrote Angels in America and a bunch of other things, Munich, the movie as well. Tony approached Maurice about actually doing a theater production of it and asked Maurice to do the designs. And since the opera itself was only a one act, they added on another Czech opera called Comedy on the Bridge, and basically put together a theatrical version with the first act being Comedy on the Bridge, second act being Brundabar. And we did it at Berkeley Rep and Yale Rep, and then in New York at the New Victory Theater. And it was again like another life-changing experience. How can you possibly work with Tony Kushner and Maurice Sendak and not be?
That sounds like a dream experience. It's like I woke up and I did this show.
Really was. And it was an opera, which is not something that I had expected to get to. So that was really fun, and I got to fly because in Brundabar I played a bird, and so which was nice because I'm lazy and I don't like to locomote by myself, so they flew me around. But it was a really great time, and getting to connect with Maurice during that, he was such a special man, and he never wrote for children. It just, people told him that these stories were for children, but he always saw children as adults. He always saw them in the same way. We think, or a lot of people think, that you have to write a book specifically for children. You either have to make it less complicated or anything like that. But he was always writing difficult subjects. He just happened to illustrate them in these beautiful, childlike wonderment ways.
Oh, I love that.
But he had a deep respect for children. And you can see that in the way that he's written all of his books. So it was quite a loss when we lost him a few years ago, but I'm so grateful to have known him.
That is so cool. That is so, I like that you said that you wanted to fly so you wouldn't have to, do all the movement on your own. I feel like that
usually I'm the little one that they're like, she's little and bendy, let's throw her around all day and do all this stuff. So this time I was like, awesome, for the second act I'm just going to sit in this harness and y'all move me around.
All I thought was like how excited you were that Symmetra has a teleporter, so she doesn't have to walk the entire way back to the point. She can just teleport.
That's a precursor. That's a precursor to Symmetra. I love that.
There's some truth.
I tell you, I have thought for many years what would be my favorite superpower, and a teleporter beyond like anything else. I want a teleporter so bad. Can you imagine the amount that I could get done?
Yes, I can, Symmetra.
It would be like I would be a machine.
Yes.
So I want that to be like, there are so many things about Symmetra that I want to be true in real life, and alas, right now it's just true in the game. But I'm praying that at some point before I die,
you're making it happen. You're making it.
Oh,
you are the welcome to my reality.
Exactly. I'm manifesting it right now, ladies. Let's do it.
Yes.
This is so badass. So you're in New York and you start working on television series, and not like just any television. You're working on The Sopranos. You're working like that is.
Yes.
Keep it going.
Tremendous amount of luck. And once again, I can thank my parents for that job on The Sopranos, because I was playing a doctor. I played one of the doctors that saved Tony at a particular point in the series. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you. Do I still have you guys, or did I lose you?
We're here. We're listening.
Oh, you are.
Intently.
You just rapt attention. You got
yes.
So I got to work on The Sopranos and on Law & Order SVU and a few other things. And that's when I really started kind of crossing over and understanding that you could, again, I think a lot of people, I know for myself, for a long time, I was held back by like, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I was allowed to do that.
Yes.
You're allowed to do anything. That's
you just have to show up. Yeah.
You really just have to show up and not suck. Be good.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, that's not even true. You can suck, because I remember my transition from theater to on camera was a miserable transition because I had no idea, but I cut my teeth on the job. Like when you see yourself back on camera, you learn a lot very quickly, and you're like, oh, I gotta make sure I'm not gonna do that the next time.
No, absolutely. I give you that. I remember my first real film acting class that I took with my dear friend Peter Kelly, who I credit with any talent that I have as far as TV and film is concerned. Because the first round of that class I took, I looked at myself on film and I was like, and that will never happen. I will never do that. That's just, I should never, ever, ever, ever be on film.
Right.
Thankfully, I got over that thanks to him. But yeah, it's a learning curve.
It really is. It really, and I think, and then you also you have a lot of Shakespeare training too. You've done a lot of Shakespeare.
Yeah, I think the most recent one that I did was in DC at the Shakespeare Theater. I did As You Like It out there a few years back, which was super fun. It was a production directed by Mariah Aitken, who did the 39 Steps on Broadway. And it was another great big production with lots of costumes and lots of great things. But again, the language of doing Shakespeare versus doing contemporary theater, yes, you have to learn and be facile, and yes, you have to learn specific things about that particular style. But at the same time, there are certain things that are a constant. Mm-hmm. You know, no matter how high the speech may be, people have to understand it.
Exactly.
No matter how big the emotions may seem in the language, people have to be able to feel it with you. You can't just be declaiming things in this fancy speech without actually making people understand and feel what you're feeling.
You'd lose the audience.
Yeah, and I really think the Brits, I mean, obviously because it's the home of Shakespeare, right. I really think the Brits have such a handle on this, particularly the ones who do go back and forth between film and television and theater. You know, you look at Dame Judi Dench, you look at Sir Ian McKellen, you look at all of these folks. Yeah, Emma Thompson, you look at Helen Mirren, all of them. Every single one of them, I'd watch them read the phone book. And incidentally, I did watch Sir Ian McKellen read from the Thesaurus in his one-man show, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. You're like, that's how you do it. If I can care about the Thesaurus while you read it, then I know, obviously you are the king of rock. So
the reason I think that's so important, the reason I think that that's such a big deal, and I think your top show is like, when you really think about it in Overwatch, it's not like World of Warcraft where, in Warcraft, you get all of this dialogue. There's actual, really juicy cut scenes and stuff for character development. Like when this game came out, there weren't a lot of cut scenes. It was mostly just your one-off lines. And every single one of your lines are so loaded with so much information. Like all of your Shakespearean chops are in there. Like you feel the layers of performance. And I mean, that's saying something. And I do think that theater actors make the best voice actors because they know how to use their whole body, and it's not just about the voice, right? You're not just using your vocal cords to deliver something, because if you just use your vocal cords, there would be nothing there. It would just be sound, which is like reading the phone book, just sound. What does that mean? Or reading Shakespeare without any intention behind it. But when you've got that intention and you're using the whole body, like, wow, your lines are amazing. Like you just, you cut them out. I'm so excited that we're talking with you, and I wish I had a million hours to talk with you. But please tell us about auditioning for Blizzard. Like, obviously, you've been in Fallout 4, but you don't have a huge video game credit list. So how did you get this audition? How did they get you is really what I'm asking. I'm like, how did they find you? How did they get you? How did they book you? And the creation of that character, if you were working with Andrea, what that process was like, getting to create her and make her and find her intention. Like, I want to know everything.
Well, the audition process was pretty much like any other audition process. My agents called me and they said, we have this voiceover audition for you. Will you record it? The tricky thing was, I was actually in London at the time.
Of course you were.
And they emailed me right before I was about to have essentially an all-nighter that I knew that I was going to have to be up for. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to have to record this on my iPhone when I get back at 7:00 in the morning, right before I get on my flight. That's about to happen. And so that's what I did. And thanks to technology, we can do that in today's day and age. I wouldn't recommend it, but thankfully I was able to do that right before I hopped on my flight.
So you weren't too attached to it. You're like, oh my God, it's 7:00 in the morning. I've been up all night. I'm just going to I'm going to knock out this audition. I'm going to get on the plane. I'm going to fly home and just forget about it, kind of a thing.
Pretty much. I mean, the tricky thing about all auditions that I find, and this is a constant struggle, is that you have to care about it like it's life or death in the moment, and then you have to completely forget about it.
Exactly.
Like you have to deeply care about this character. You have to deeply care about conveying everything. you know, you have to prep as much as you can. And even if you can't prep, you have to invest in it.
Yeah.
You put yourself in it, and then you have to forget about it, which is really freaking hard. Let's be honest, you know?
Yeah.
And there have been many times where I've gotten an audition and I've worked on it and invested in it. And then I find out, oh, the audition got canceled or they cut the part or whatever. And you're like, but I get, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's part of the job, is just being able to invest and then detach, which I think will be a struggle, or not a struggle, but will be a challenge probably until, you know, the day I die. Because you end up falling in love with every one of the characters you try to do.
It's really hard.
But this one,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's really hard not to fall in love with the characters you've been given to create. Like once you've created something, whether it's an audition or a work, your inner self has no difference. There's no difference for me when I'm in the booth at home knocking out a whole bunch of auditions. Each one of those characters I fall madly in love with, and I'm like, I want to be this character again. What are you talking about? I don't get to be this character again. What?
Yeah,
Did you hear my audition?
Yeah, and I think I come from a theater background, but I also come from, well, like every kid that grew up and they pretend they're someone and they actually believe that they're someone that they're pretending to be, like let's say a superhero or whatever. They believe in that, they invest in that. And I'm more of like, I love to play with these characters and I invest everything, all my emotion and everything into that character for every audition. So I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and obviously some more than others, and this one in particular, I'm not going to lie, as soon as I saw all of the stuff for the audition, and, you know, I was really in love, but I also recognized, okay, the chances of me getting this are really slim because of the circumstances under which I am auditioning.
Right.
Generally speaking, I do my best work when I think I'm not going to get it. So
no, for the record, I also,
like that,
exactly. I booked my the lead in World of Warcraft when I had 30 other auditions to do that one night. It was one of those freak audition nights where I had like all these auditions, and I couldn't think about it more than just that 10 seconds I could give the audition, and that's the one I book. Like,
right. Exactly.
That's cuckoo.
So that's how I auditioned for it, and then got the call later that I had booked it, which was awesome. Obviously. And
did you feel like that was crazy? You're like, I booked it, the 7:00 in the morning edition? I booked that?
At the same time, I was like, okay, awesome. That tells me that I need to never judge whether I'm going to book it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, detach from both outcomes. Detach from not booking it and detach from booking it.
Exactly.
Yes. So then I think the next contact we had was the actual first session with Andrea, and obviously, I mean, she's magical. She's ridiculously awesome. And being in the room with her and the rest of the guys that were there in the whole team, and learning about Symmetra more in depth and the game. I mean, I when I was younger, much younger, when I was in high school and college and a little after that, I was really into RPG. Actually, way long time ago.
Ooh, which ones?
First I used to play straight up D&D, like campaign, when I was in junior high and high school.
Of course you did.
And which I think, I say this all the time, I think D&D and role-playing games like that, the actual ones where you have to read and learn things, and I think there's such a tremendous education for anyone who's playing them, and I really endorse people jumping into those when they're young, because I learned so much, and the fact that you have to educate yourself and just do so much critical thinking and so much creation, dive into this world that you're creating from your own mind. It's not being spoon-fed to you. I think it develops a lot of really important skills. But then as I was getting a little bit older and not having as much time to do full-on campaigns, I was playing Baldur's Gate and Shadows of Amn, those Forgotten Realm games.
That's awesome.
Really loved those. Like, maybe a little too obsessed with those. Probably wasted a lot of hours in school where I should have been doing something else.
You know what?
It was training.
Wrong with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was training.
I still look back to those days very fondly. And then I had to delete everything from my computer so I would actually get things done.
Right.
So moving forward, I completely lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Oh, I don't know. I was on the train.
Where was I? I was on the train. We're all on this different train.
Oh, we were talking about your first session. Your first session.
Right.
I was on the train.
Excited. Thank you.
Well done. We were with you. We were with you.
I lost you. During my first session, learning more about the game and learning more about the character, I just, again, fell more and more in love with her. And then it was just super easy. I mean, Andrea gives us such great direction, and it was so smooth. And yeah, I mean, I can't even. It was so easy and so smooth that I can't even describe. I feel like I can't really say much more about that. It just came.
Have
They
you
had
gotten
the
a
line,
chance? Have you had a chance to play the game so you can see in game at like I know that it's hard sometimes when you've got a schedule like you do.
No, my sweet, sexier, taller, better half bought me a PlayStation so that I could play the game.
Oh, what a good
and
human.
He's a good man. And I've had maybe like 5 chances to play it, but I'm really bad at it. Admittedly.
Oh, I'm terrible. I'm level 220 and I still suck. Doesn't mean I don't play all the time, but I have the time, so.
Well, I have so much fun when I do it. I have so
Do
much
you
fun.
get to pick your character so you can see
know
how amazing your character is?
Oh I feel like I kind of have to stick with my gal. I feel like I kind of have to stick with Symmetra. And now that she's got this amazing, boost
buff.
Over
her,
it's kind of like, why not?
Symmetra is godlike right now.
I agree.
I can't remember how many times I played with her, especially after this whole the patch she got.
Yeah.
She's godlike. I love her.
Yeah, Danielle and I play your character quite a bit. Like, we both love your character. In fact, it was me watching Danielle play Symmetra that got me the courage to play her. Because at first I was terrified of her because of all of the turret abilities. I'm like, what are you going to, how do you have time? And then you still have to protect yourself. How are you going to? But Danielle did a really good job with your Symmetra. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to play her too. Because she's so classy and gorgeous and still able to fight. Like, the strong woman is not even like that beautiful balance of being a strong woman but also really, really classy and feminine at the same time is so it's so satisfying.
It's super appealing. And let's be honest, like the game itself, without the lore and without all of the beautiful background that Blizzard has provided, the game itself would be very simple. People might not be as in love with it, but they've done such a good job of giving these beautiful backgrounds and these full lives and these interconnected storylines to all of the characters that when you're playing it, you've got all of that in the back of your head too. And
you just explore it deeper and deeper. Like the design itself, no matter how many times you go to the exact same map, you discover something new because the designers were they're so brilliant. But I feel like it's that way with the characters. Like you guys keep getting a little bit more, and it comes out a little bit more for each character. And every time there's a buff or a nerf, it changes the entire dynamic of the game. And you have to relearn everything. And like one of my favorite things about your character, I have your emote set where she sits on the little chair, and it reminds me so much of Uhura in Star Trek because I freaking love that. I sometimes I'm like, I wish they didn't make the slits so high because you don't necessarily need them to still be so sexy and classy, but it is what it is.
She's got to move,
right?
I mean, she's got to have full range of motion.
She does. That's true. And she does that great squat when she's shooting, which I love because that would be real life. You would have to squat and like, got it. And, it's just amazing. I love my favorite thing to do is go to the Ilios map, go to the upstairs level where there's a table set with wine and cheese, and I sit Symmetra down in front of the wine and tell everybody to group up.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
And people do.
These are secrets I know nothing about.
Yeah, these are fun things.
Try that out.
And that's the type of stuff we can do with the characters because they've got such distinct personalities. You know what I mean? Like your character has such a distinct personality, and she's so classy. If I'm sitting and I'm in front of the wine and I'm talking to people with, this is my welcome to my reality, and somebody tries to shoot me, I'm like, oh, you lost this whole vibe right here. You didn't catch it. You didn't catch this. I had a vibe.
I'm gonna have to kill you.
Exactly.
Sorry about it.
I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm really, really, I'm kind of in love with the backgrounds of all of these characters. And you mentioned having all of the strong women, and I'm in addition to obviously Symmetra, I'm in love with the fact that they put Anna out there.
Yes.
What other game can you think of? I certainly can't think of one, and I know I'm not as well versed as you guys are in the gaming world, but I certainly can't think of anyone like her in any other game. I can't
think of any. Not that age and that experience and all of that. I can't. I'm sure there might be one, but I doubt it's a lead character.
Right, and I feel like there is one of the most important things and the best things that I find about this game is that every single person can find a hero in this game to identify with.
Yes. And the crazy thing is you'll think like, for example, I started playing with Zenyatta because that was the one I identified with most, because I was like, I can be Zenyatta. And I thought Zenyatta represents me, that I'm only going to be in love with Zenyatta. And then slowly but surely over time, I start falling madly in love with every other character. Like, you think you're gonna you identify with one character until the game reveals to you a little bit of all of us are in each character, and you can't help but fall in love with them all.
Exactly. It's funny because on a lot of folks on Twitter will, say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't really usually play Symmetra, but you did a great job with her voice." And I'm like, "Why are you apologizing? There are 23 characters for a reason.
Right?
Enjoy yourself. Find the one that suits you the best." And for the people who are like, "I hate Symmetra," I'm like, "Great, you have 22 other people who can kill her. Go enjoy yourself. This is what this game is made for."
Now here's a question. Because Blizzard's games are pretty popular, but this game has created a whole other movement. Like, this game is outshadowing all games ever made. And did you even have a clue, having not a lot of game acting experience, that, first of all, did you expect to have such a big following, and then so quickly, like, it was all in 1 year, 6-month period since the game released, and now it's like a year. It's crazy.
Yeah, I had no clue. Zero clue whatsoever. And quite frankly, I think it's better that way, because one of my mottos, which I say half jokingly, but it's actually works really well, is success through lowered expectations. If I had known how important this would have been, or if I had known how widespread it would have been, I may have psyched myself out of doing a reasonably good job.
Oh, wow.
And it's happened to me before, where I've done a show or I've done a play or I've done whatever with someone who I later found out, oh my God, this person has done all of these things, and I would have completely psyched myself out had I not known that. Had I known that ahead of time.
So you were able to go right into the character deeper because you weren't distracted by all of the fancy, shiny things.
Yeah, I was excited, but I wasn't expecting anything. And I feel like that's the sweet spot. There's a big difference. There's not a big difference. There's a basically the only difference between nervousness and excitement is your expectation of what outcome is going to happen. Right? Nervousness and excitement are the exact same emotion. You get excited when you think something good is going to happen, and you get nervous when you think something bad is going to happen. So walking into this with excitement is exactly the way to do it. Otherwise, if I had been like, oh, what if it sucks? What if blah, 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 then I would be really, really nervous. Yeah. So I like to psych myself out as much as possible by sometimes knowing not that much. But yeah, I had absolutely no idea. And what I really wasn't prepared for and had been so wildly surprised by and just so grateful for are these fans. Their generosity of spirit, their talent, their excitement, their art, their fan story, their fan fiction, all of it, their willingness to participate, their amazing eagerness to talk. It really is, it really is like the definition of mind-blowing. I had absolutely no idea. And on a daily basis, they surprise me and inspire me. And I'm really, really grateful. I keep wanting so badly to help them get their art and their projects and get them out there, because there's such a wealth of talent. And the fact that they have this game that has inspired them to perhaps draw more or write more is it's very humbling.
It's a big deal. Really, really it's a big deal because you become, it's different in gaming than any other genre of acting, because you get fans in television and you get fans in theater, but it's not the same as someone living and breathing as your character. Like, someone gets to be your character. They live in your skin. It's a different experience. So the intimacy that develops immediately between the player and the actor who is the vehicle for that character, who gives that character the breath of life, it's a special bond, and I think that's why it inspires so much creative arts, because as the player, you just want to give something back because you've received so much. Like, it's been an amazing journey, even just like with this podcast, which we started just because we couldn't get enough of these characters, and we wanted to reinforce and say, hey, this is how you do video games. See the diversity, see the male-female balance. We want more of this as gamers. Can we please have more of this? That's really how this started. We just wanted to, keep talking about how amazing these characters were. But out of even this podcast, I think this is the 9th episode, and a fan from the UK Tick 115, he started fanimating the episodes, just the interviews. Like he'll take certain interviews and take like 6 minutes out of it and fanimate it and just make an animation of the interview. And it blows our mind every time. A, that he would take the time, because I know it's a lot of time to do it. And B, that he does it, and it's brilliant and it's really funny. So we actually created a page on our waifusofoverwatch.com website just for his fanimations, because why wouldn't we want to share that amazing gift that he bestowed upon us out of nowhere for no reason? He just made it.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. And like one of the artists on Twitter, she's Super Risu on Twitter, RISU, and she saw a picture of my dog, or me with my dog, and she just, within like 5 minutes, all of a sudden there's this beautiful picture of Symmetra with me and my dog. Yeah,
that's
right?
amazing.
Then,
in minutes.
In minutes.
Oh
and then this other beautiful artist who is Nisat on Tumblr has just created an entire book of Symmetra-based art that is absolutely stunning.
Their own art, or a collection of different art?
Her own art.
Oh my gosh,
their own art. Yeah, and it's a whole. I mean, you can go online and check it out. Like I said, it's Nisat, Nis as in Sam, A-T. Her Tumblr page.
Perfect.
And there's just so much gorgeous stuff. I'm absolutely just mind blown by it.
What a gift.
Yeah, and so there's so many. I mean, each one of them. One of them is a mask maker. One of them is makes these plushies that she sent me, and like everybody's just like, it's just so amazing the way people are using their art and putting it out there. So I just want to keep pimping them out as much as physically possible.
Absolutely. Well, it's the love, isn't it? I think the thing about Overwatch is it's all about teamwork and love and moving the payload and getting the objective, but really it's love. Love is the theme behind it all, and the fans are attracted to the love, and it's just all this love, and I'm in love with the love. I'm in love with the love.
Well, I think the fans are also, and maybe I'm looking in a little deeper to this than I should, but I can't help but it. The world is in a very big. The world's, let's face it, we're in a state of upheaval and a state of change right now.
Yes, I concur.
And it's not just affecting our country; it's affecting the entire world. The whole world is in a state of like, we don't know what is about to happen.
Yeah.
And at this very time, this game has come out with the theme "The World Needs Heroes."
Exactly.
Saying that we're banding together. We're getting the old band together to save the world
again.
And people are inspired. I feel like people are inspired when they see the hero in themselves.
Yes.
People are inspired when they realize that they can somehow make a difference. And whether that is because they are going out and protesting, or because they have connected to this game that makes them feel a little more powerful, a little more just a little more empowered.
It's a big
whatever
deal.
Their background is. I think it's a big deal, particularly for the youth of America, who could very easily be feeling very disillusioned.
Well,
I
speak from a female perspective because I'm a woman, so I don't mean to, this is not a negative slant on men at all, but as women, we were taught, at least my generation, were taught from a very young age, the princess gets rescued by a prince, and what Overwatch teaches is if you're a woman or a girl, or it doesn't matter what age you are, you can become your own hero, no matter who you are. Now, that's a general lesson for everybody, but as females, that's not something we were taught at an early age. We can become our own hero. We are the hero. We don't need rescuing. We have to discover the power within and then come and save ourselves.
Right. And then also add to that, the LGBTQ community, add to that people of different races who may or may not have been taught to be
their own hero.
Who may or may not have been taught to be either subservient or not stand out in a crowd or not speak up for themselves. Whatever it is, we have these examples of fully realized characters that are stepping into their own skin, that are stepping up into their own greatness.
And we can do it too.
And that it doesn't have to be on some grand saving the world level. You don't have to be Tracer in order to save the world. But the fact that is part of you, the fact that you might have that in you might lead people to be kinder, might lead people to be more active, might lead people to speak out, might lead people to stop bullying. Any one of those effects has a larger effect on the world.
I agree. I totally agree. And I love that. I love that so much. I have another question for you. Have you had the opportunity, whether it was in the studio, like, passing ships in the night, have you had the opportunity to meet other cast members from the show?
Oh, yeah.
Talk
totally.
about it.
I'm so thrilled. The day after BlizzCon, the voice actors, a big group of the voice actors, not everybody, but almost everybody, descended on Blizzard at the campus down in Irvine. And we all had this big voice actor gathering, which was amazing. So got to meet so many of them and had the most wonderful time. And in fact, Johnny put out this video with all of us, or many of us, those of us who were there, doing, lines with each other and whatever. And it was fantastic. So each and every one of them, I've really enjoyed their company. In fact, last time I was in New York, Carolina and I were trying to get together, Carolina, who plays Sombra.
That is so awesome.
Together, but it didn't happen, but we're gonna make it happen next time.
Is she based out of New York?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, she's from Colombia, but she's based out of New York. So we've all stayed connected via the interwebs, but I'm really looking forward to spending some more time with them. And Zhang, who came, the woman who voices May, came to sit in on my session when she was in town from Shanghai.
Oh my gosh,
so
she came in from Shanghai?
Fun.
Oh, that is so amazing! Yeah. Literally
she came
amazing!
In from Shanghai for BlizzCon. She specifically came in for BlizzCon, and then she stuck around for a little bit, and so that was super fun to get to sit with her for a little bit.
Oh, that is so cool.
Work around her. So the whole team. I mean, as much as I love the game, it makes perfect sense that these people are also people that are just really have fun spending time with. So, and we all watched the video shorts.
Yay!
And we all cried when we watched Bastion. And, the whole thing.
Oh,
they messed.
The
feels. They really messed with my heart on that one. That and Ganymede. Bastion and Ganymede. What are you going to do?
Oh, gosh.
So
I died when I saw that. I couldn't even function. But I love how you and the other voice actors of Overwatch have this nice sort of camaraderie going on. And it's almost like very family. It is like a big family. And I love how you guys just get along, and the synergy is just great.
Well, I think I think that also comes from a huge amount of gratitude that all of us have, whether the more experienced voice actors or those of us who haven't done as much. We recognize that it's a gift. And it's a privilege. It's not a right to get to do something and get to be a part of something like this. So
don't you feel though? I feel like the casting is so beyond perfect. I feel like it's possibly everybody's destiny, because I think that this is. Now, I know it's a video game, and I know I'm a little obsessed with it. So please, a grain of salt, listeners. But I feel like this is a game changer, literally, in the consciousness of the human race. And I feel like each one of you was so perfectly cast, and each one of you brings a certain vibration to assist in this shift that we're experiencing on a whole. It's beyond perfect. And I might be a little cuckoo on that. Maybe it's just luck, but I don't think it's luck. I think it's destiny.
Well, I will say I think it's pretty amazing how many of us actually look like the characters.
Yes!
I mean, Matt Mercer looks so much like McCree.
Yes.
I don't
Diva?
even know what to do with that
Come on now.
Like, it's
you
really,
look like
it's
Symmetra.
really kind of ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Thank you. I will take that as a huge
Yes,
compliment.
you do.
So thank you.
Yes,
she's
you
kind
do.
of hot.
Yes,
but,
you are.
Yes, you are. That's kind of awesome that we get to that happened. That there's that, and I appreciate what you're saying. I mean, I'd like to think that that's true. I'd like to think that there's a shift happening. I do believe that the way gaming is now, with it being so lifelike and so deeply involving the player, I think that really it's the next step in entertainment, because you get to be in the movie. You get to be a part of the story. You get to create the story. It's choose your own adventure, only in 3D. Exactly. You know, it's that beautiful combination of being told a story and getting to tell the story. Yeah. So the combination of technology and then the wild creativity that people like the folks at Blizzard have, I think there's sort of no end to what can be created in that realm.
Exactly. Now, this being the Valentine's Day episode, we couldn't possibly let you go without, you can talk about as much or as little as you want, but if you could choose you know, we call it shipping when you put your character in a relationship with another character. Who are your top 3 ships for Symmetra? If you got to choose, this is not a Blizzard official. This is not canon. This is the actress
this is so hard.
fantasizing who she would ship Symmetra with.
This is so you are
Good
not
luck.
the first people to ask this question, and I genuinely can't come up with a good answer because I feel like Symmetra is so work oriented. I can't even imagine her making time for another human. But
that's a great answer.
I think it would be fascinating. I do think it would be fascinating in a sort of moonlighting kind of way, if you guys remember that show.
Yes.
In a sort of will they or won't they way for her and Lucio to have something going on, because they are so at odds, but ultimately they could be on the same side.
Opposites attract. Like he would be so busy playing music and she would be like, could you please turn that down? I have work to do.
Yeah, at the same time, they would drive each other absolutely bonkers. So it would last like 10 minutes.
Right.
But yeah, I haven't really been able to put my finger on it. And believe me, I've thought about this question.
Anjali,
it just
I think
feels
it's
like
even
she's so
I think it's why does she have to choose? Why can't you say she's she's in love with her job, she's in love with her work, and she can that's empowering to women everywhere for her not to choose a ship. She doesn't have to have one. If it doesn't feel authentic to you, then don't choose one. Don't you dare force it. I think that's powerful.
Yeah, I feel like not yet. I mean, I feel like, again, the Symmetra Lucio headbutting thing that they've got going on would make
There's
sense,
sparks,
but it still doesn't feel quite. It doesn't feel quite right.
Right.
Yeah, no. I almost feel like there's a character they haven't introduced.
Yes, maybe. Exactly.
That there would be some person that, in her past or something that explains a little more about her present. But at this moment, I think she's so obsessed with making the world a better place. I can't imagine her actually focusing on another human being at that time.
Like I see her having really long, but as a friendship, not as a relationship, but having really long, deep, contemplative thoughts with Winston. Like I see her mentally, like having it out with but it would be in such because of the similarity in purpose and because they it's so strong in the passion for that, but it wouldn't necessarily be a love relationship. It would be what do we need to do next? Exactly.
Yeah. And I definitely see that in her. And one of the things that I find so fascinating about her is the questionable means by which she carries out her mission. Yes. Because I think it's not that she has questionable morality. I've been talking about it in that way, but it's not so much that she has questionable morality as the means to an end are questionable, right? And I think she even has those questions, as we saw in the comic.
Right.
Where she's like, I can't really tell if what I'm doing for Vishkar is actually good or for the people or not, but I know I want to make a better world. So if she and Winston were having this conversation, I have a feeling Winston would be the first person to be like, you're doing the wrong thing. And she's like, I'm doing the right thing. I'm totally doing the right thing. What are you talking about? That they would be cohorts in terms of what they wanted for the world, but not necessarily in how they were going about getting it.
Right.
And that, again, I feel like that is where she and Lucio kind of butt heads, because she thinks she's doing good for the world, but he obviously doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, in a way, I also feel like she and Zenyatta would be very simpatico.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is a level of how do you put it? There's a level of
Zen.
There's a level of zen, but I didn't want to be that cliche. No, I didn't want to be that cliche about it. There's just a level of understanding that in order for there to be balance and harmony, there has to be a large amount of detachment.
Yes,
and you certainly don't see Symmetra getting very emotional in her world. And I think that's because she's learned to detach from that in order to.
Well, she understands that she creates her reality. Like she's living the spiritual philosophies of life. Of I'm here. This is not the actual reality. This whole thing is an illusion. But I'm here. I have a purpose. I have a mission to accomplish, and therefore I'm going to create it the way that I see fit. So it'll be good for the whole. So that there will be balance. Right. And Zenyatta is a little bit more passive. But yeah.
At the same time, she's not heartless. I mean, obviously, she saw that little girl and it tugged at her heartstrings. Yeah. Obviously, she connects with other humans, and her past, being plucked out of poverty and taken away and being alone and throwing herself into her work. There is, I almost think of her as Spock. Even though she's not, but like Spock has that half human, half Vulcan thing going on.
I can see that, definitely.
Mm-hmm. I think of her as, I've learned to put aside these emotions because I can't have them. It's more important for me to take care of the world than it is for me to feel things myself.
Wow.
Again, this is totally not Blizzard approved. This is
just the actor playing.
But I really, that's a few people have come to me and said, "Wow, Symmetra is so evil," and I haven't understood it.
And I don't understand, but you know what? That means they haven't played her. Because in my opinion, like I have some very strong angry feelings towards May. I have a lot of salt, but I don't enjoy playing her because it's cuckoo. So I think you develop salt towards a character that murders you on a regular basis, and you have no idea how it is that they murder you so well until you start playing as that character. And when you start playing as that character and you start to understand who that character is by being like, isn't that funny? It's just that whole, walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Then you realize it's never black and white. It's not as black and white as that. It has all sorts of shades of gray. And Danielle, you can speak on that because you've been playing May a lot more lately, which is boggling my mind.
Yeah, I hate May as well, but something about her is very fun.
She's the most adorable character of the game.
Attached to her, which is very weird for me to say, because for the longest time I couldn't stand her, and just me playing with her a little bit, it's like, let me just play her like maybe 1 or 2 matches, and then went to like 3, 4, 5 matches. I'm starting to kind of gravitate towards her now. It's really weird.
Well, it's a great example of kind of what as actors we have to do no matter what. No matter how quote unquote evil a character may be on the outside, you have to be able to put yourself in that character's shoes and understand the logic and the morality that makes them do what they do.
Exactly, because you don't play evil, because if you play evil, then it's not interesting. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's room for that in the world in certain, more black and white or cartoony type things, but it's never nearly as interesting.
No,
it's
exactly.
Never, one of my favorite villains ever in the history of ever was Javier Bardem in Skyfall.
Oh,
And you look at him and like that guy totally believes in what he's doing. 100%. It makes perfect sense to him, and he's calm, and he's got his reasons for doing what he's doing, and he's batshit crazy, but you absolutely understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Well, it's like Mark Hamill as the Joker. Here we have Mark Hamill as the ultimate good guy, Luke Skywalker, but his Joker, he doesn't play Joker evil. He as the Joker believes everything that he's doing. Like, he's so obsessed with his own mission, and that might have gone so far down the crazy alley. But again, he doesn't play him as dark and crazy. He plays him in that truth of intention that ends up reading as dark and crazy.
Yep. And even if you look at Reaper in the game, like if you were to argue that there was a quote unquote bad guy character, I suppose you could argue that Reaper was one, but you look at his background and you see, no, he is a product of what happened to him. And each of these characters has basically taken a path one way or the other based on their past. And some of them look more good and some of them look more evil, but ultimately it's how they dealt with their history. And so you can't really entirely blame him. You got to kind of feel bad for him. And also I just want to bring up, even though you guys don't necessarily have a lot of love for May, the character, Zhang, the girl who does her voice, is absolutely the sweetest, kindest, most adorable human.
Which is why it's so painful that when she murders you so often, she does it in the sweetest, kindest, most adorable way. And you're like, no.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Exactly. It's so mean. You're not allowed to be so cute and murder me so horrifically. It's just so mean. It's mean.
Not fair. It's like a killer rabbit.
It reminds me of the Garfield comic books when Nermal came along. When Garfield just hated Nermal. Nermal was the sweetest, kindest. Like, Nermal never did anything to Garfield, but he just hated Nermal because he just got on his nerves. Same thing.
Exactly.
We will eventually, hopefully, get her on the show, and I have no idea what that show is going to be like, because I will have played her character more to be able to do that and be a lot less salty. But she may not come on the show. She may know.
5 words with her. If you ever do get to talk with her, you'll realize how sweet she is.
And then it will ruin me forever. It'll just devastate me.
You'll be able to divide the character.
I love it. I love it.
Well, I actually watched the BlizzCon footage for like the voice actors in their interview or the panel, and I was looking at the voice of May and just kind of focusing on. I'm like, there's no way I can hate this.
I know, she's so cute.
Ridiculous.
She's
ridiculously cute. I mean, she's like a cartoon character herself. She's so adorable.
Which is, again, perfect casting. There is no wrong casting in this game. Not one little inch. It's just, Absolutely perfect. Now, you don't have to do this at all. I'm just asking, putting it out there in case it's in your spirit, in your space, and you want to. But because it's Valentine's Day, if you feel, do you remember any of your Symmetra lines? And if so, would you give us a little taste of Symmetra? But you certainly don't have to if you're not feeling it in the moment.
I'm trying to think if there's one that's Valentine's Day appropriate. Because the one that, like my favorite one and the one that always pops into mind is totally not Valentine's Day appropriate.
That's okay, because some people are not happy with Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I'm kind of obsessed with the line, "You are not meant for greatness."
Oh!
Because it's just,
I love that one.
It's first of all, I would never say something that mean to someone in real life, so
Right.
I love that.
Right.
And also, it's like the ultimate elegant way to diss someone.
Word.
So I love the power behind that. Help me out. Pick one for me.
I am definitely the big fan of "Welcome to My Reality." That is definitely.
Yes. Welcome to my reality.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I love that. I just love that.
Welcome to my reality. Valentine's Day is not a lie.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's
It's going to sound really, really, really lame, but what I hope is what I am going to put out there in the world for your listeners is that, look, Valentine's Day was a manufactured holiday, one way or the other.
Right.
So you can manufacture whatever the hell you want it to be for you, and you can be your own Valentine, or you can hang out with your single friends. You really don't have to be coupled to enjoy this holiday because the holiday was made up in the first place. So go fall in love with something today. Fall in love with your dog. Fall in love with yourself. Yay. Fall in love with a book. Do something that makes you feel like you are paired with some other thing or object or person or creature, and celebrate it that way. Because, Symmetra could be solo and have a very, very satisfying life. Why shouldn't you?
So then Symmetra would be very within Symmetra's character to say you create your own reality, which I think might actually be one of your lines. You create your own reality. It's something similar to that, I think.
I'm going to have to bone up on my own lines.
Yeah.
I haven't done my own homework.
Well, it's really hard to remember because you get caught up in your own catchphrase. I find it really hard. Once you get one line locked in, then I forget all the other lines. I don't, because we don't have to memorize them. We don't have to memorize them. We read them off a script. The only reason I know lines of any of my characters is because it's been quoted at me 1,000,000 times by fans.
And in the meantime, I can remember like the beginning of the speech that I learned in my 7th grade play, but I can't remember the things that I recorded the 3 months ago. So I don't know what.
That's because you didn't have to memorize it. There was no okay, you got to get this off the page and you've got to put it in your body and that's why it's much harder. It's much. Oh, this has been amazing. We can't thank you enough for your time this evening.
I can't thank you guys. This has been so fun. I wish we had more time, but we'll just have to do this again sometime.
Yes, we will. I mean, this is a huge cast, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get everybody eventually on the show because everybody is so spread out around the world, and some people aren't even on social media. That's how amazing they are. So it's, when you're busy acting in the acting world and then go, like Athena goes on walkabouts in Africa because she's just badass. So
she's busy.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Busy. I love it. This has just been amazing. So we're just, even with everybody who's come on the show so far and with yourself, we're just so grateful. Thank you so much. It's so exciting. We just get to dive in and indulge in our love of these characters, our waifus and husbandos even more. And I have a feeling we'll bump into each other at some point. And I'm very excited to meet you in person at some point. I'm sure
Likewise.
we will. Yeah.
Likewise. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. This has been, and for your enthusiasm about this. Because again, that's what makes this so special for all of us. So thank you.
All right. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Bye, guys.
Valentine's Day.
Bye. Well, that was absolutely amazing. Anjali Bhimani, if you want to get in touch with her, you can go to her website, www.anjalibhimani.com, or you can reach her on Twitter, Sweet Ange, which is SWEEETANJ. She is very accessible on all social media, and we want to reach Waifus of Overwatch, waifusofoverwatch.com, at Waifus of OW on Twitter. We have a Facebook fan page. We have a Google Plus page. I believe there's a Tumblr. Anywhere we can be, we are. You can subscribe to us on SoundCloud and iTunes now. And if you have any questions for any of our social media, you can personally reach me at Erin Fitzgerald on Twitter, and you can reach Danielle
at Danielle MCVO.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.